In a world where alliances are tested and friendships are questioned, India has once again shown that its dignity cannot be bought and its sovereignty cannot be compromised. The headlines are shaking the globe. 50s and revenge. India returns American fighter jets, UU weapons. This is not just about machines of war. This is about pride, principle, and power. India's decision to return American fighter jets and weapons is not just a simple act of rejection. It is a thunderous statement to the world. When nations are pressured into compliance, when power politics seeks to dictate terms, India has chosen the harder road, the road of dignity. Sending back these advanced machines of war was never about hardware. It was about principle. It was a declaration that India will not let its sovereignty be compromised in the name of partnership. Too long has the world assumed that military alliances could be used as bargaining chips to keep nations in line. But India has torn apart that assumption with one bold move. This act is defiance wrapped in steel and courage. America thought supplying its most advanced fighter jets and weapons would ensure leverage, a subtle way to keep New Delhi dependent. But India's response is crystal clear. We will not be bound by invisible chains. We will not be reduced to a client state, waiting for approvals and permissions. Instead, we will walk away, and we will walk taller because of it. The skies that were once filled with American aircraft now echo with the sound of Indian resolve. Every jet returned, every weapon sent back is a symbol, a warning, a reminder to all who dare underestimate India's backbone. It says, we are strong enough to give back what you thought we could not live without. It says, we will build our own and we will rise without you. This is not isolation. This is independence. This is not rejection. This is respect, self-respect. And for a nation like India, that is worth more than any fighter jet or any weapon America could ever supply. By sending back half of what was once celebrated as the symbol of strategic cooperation, India has sent an unmistakable reminder to the United States and the world. Respect is not something you negotiate, it is something you demand. Every nation, no matter how powerful, must understand that partnership cannot survive on unequal ground. America may have believed that its advanced weapons and fighter jets would guarantee influence, but India has chosen principle over privilege. The decision is a blunt rejection of the notion that respect can be purchased through deals or disguised under military aid. For decades, India has stood as a proud democracy, ready to cooperate with allies, but only as an equal. This return of American arms exposes a truth that Washington often overlooks. India is not willing to be treated as a subordinate. Respect in international relations does not come from what is given. It comes from how a nation is regarded. If the United States sees India merely as a market, then it must also face the reality that India will not play along. The price of true partnership is equality, and India is willing to pay the cost of walking away rather than bowing its head. This is not about arrogance, it is about dignity. By sending back these weapons, India is effectively saying, we will never accept aid that comes with strings. We will never tolerate gestures that mask control as cooperation. This decision is a line drawn in history, one that tells the West, India's respect is non-negotiable. It cannot be bought with contracts. It cannot be leased through weapons. India's self-worth is greater than any arsenal offered. And in proving this, India has elevated itself from being a partner by convenience to a power by conviction. India's decision to return American weapons does not expose a weakness. It shines a light on an undeniable strength, self-reliance. For decades, India was seen as a buyer, a nation filling its defense gaps with imports from superpowers. But today, that perception is shattered. The act of sending back foreign jets is not surrender. It is a declaration that India has its own wings to fly, its own weapons to defend, and its own technology to lead. No longer will India's security rest on someone else's mercy. Instead, it now rests firmly on the shoulders of its own innovation, its own engineers, its own soldiers. From the skies to the seas, India has been steadily building an arsenal that carries one clear label: Made in India. The Tejas fighter jet is no longer just a project, it is a symbol of pride. The Agni missiles, capable of reaching far beyond borders, are proof that India's reach cannot be underestimated. The rise of indigenous drones, warships, and advanced defense systems has shown that India is not dependent. It is independent and growing stronger every day. Returning American hardware is therefore not rejection, it is replacement. It is a signal that India trusts its own industry, its own science, and its own power more than the promises of foreign suppliers. Each weapon returned is a reminder that India has its own to offer, both to itself and to the world. And this is what makes the move so powerful. It is not the voice of a country in need, but the roar of a country that provides. Self-reliance is no longer a dream, it is a reality. And with this act, India has shown that its shield of defense is no longer borrowed. It is built, sharpened, and carried by India alone. The reaction in Washington is one of disbelief, even shock. How could India, the nation they thought would quietly accept, the ally they assumed would always nod in agreement, choose to send their weapons back? But this shock is not India's burden to carry. It is America's lesson to learn. For too long, the West has miscalculated India's patience as weakness, mistaking cooperation for dependency. With one decisive act, India has destroyed that illusion. The message is clear: we will work with you, but we will not bow to you. In the halls of power, analysts scramble to explain the move. Some call it defiance, others call it betrayal. But the truth is simpler. It is dignity. India has reminded the United States that friendship cannot be dictated, and respect cannot be forced. The shock waves this sends across Washington are not temporary. They mark a shift. The world's largest democracy has spoken in the only language superpowers understand: action. And in doing so, India has unsettled a system that thrives on control. America now faces an uncomfortable truth. It cannot treat India as a junior partner. Every returned fighter jet, every rejected weapon, echoes a deeper warning. India will not be pressured. India will not be pressured. This decision is not just about military hardware. It is about rewriting the rules of engagement between nations. The shock will become tomorrow's, and the rudder of the rules at in-gate of tomorrow's. Because when a nation stands firm, when it refuses to bend even under the weight of a superpower, it forces the world to see it differently. And that is exactly what India has done. By daring to surprise, by daring to defy, India has ensured that its voice will never again be dismissed. It will be heard, respected, and remembered. This act of fifth only at Ranjan is not a strike aimed to every at Washington. It is a message sent to tree capital across the globe, and this capital across the globe. India has declared, with action louder than words, that it is not a pawn to be moved on someone else's chessboard. For years, powerful nations have treated emerging countries as bargaining chips, assuming they could be pressured, swayed, or bought. But India has broken that pattern. By returning American fighter jets and weapons, it has proven that it stands on its own terms, that it decides its own destiny, and that it answers to no one but itself. The world is watching, and the message is unmistakable. India is not here to follow. It is here to lead. To the east, it signals strength in the face of rivals who test its borders. To the west, it signals independence against allies who mistake friendship for dominance. And to the global south, it lights a beacon of hope that a nation can rise, not by submission, but by standing in anger. It is revenge rooted in anger. It is revenge rooted in respect. Respect for sovereignty, respect for self-reliance, respect for the sacrifices of generations who dreamed of a free and powerful India. Every fighter jet returned, every weapon sent back, carries with it the spirit of 1 billion people who refuse to be treated as less. In the corridors of world power, this move forces a new reality. No nation can ever again dismiss India as dependent or desperate. It has shown that it will engage when respected and walk away when undermined. That is true strength, and so, this Fidifian revenge is not just a moment in history. It is the beginning of a new chapter, where India's decisions echo far beyond its borders, commanding attention, commanding respect, and commanding the future. So let this be clear. India's return of American fighter jets is not just the end of a deal. It is the beginning of a new era, a world where India stands firm, unshaken, unbroken. And to all who watch from afar, remember, this is not revenge for the sake of pride. This is revenge for the sake of respect.